For this path to Halloween I would like to give some recommendations once again. While I will usually try to make some recommendations for lesser known movies, this time I will give just some recommendations for movies which are a good fit for Halloween. And these recommendations are twice as much as the first one.
Wow!
So relax and have a look. Maybe there's something you want to check out this year, this Halloween. Let's start with a must-watch. Trick or Treat. If you want to see a horror anthology this year on Halloween, then check this one out. It's funny, it's bloody, it's moody and atmospheric. It's a bit different than the other anthologies as it resembles more the non-linear storytelling of Tarantino, or more so the people who try to copy Tarantino, as the story intertwines in some aspects. It's basically a couple of spooky stories in a town, which are observed by my boy Sammy, which is short for Samhain, which is pronounced Samhain, which is basically an inspiration for Halloween. Made by the same guy who made Krampus, this is pretty good and I watch it almost every Halloween since I bought the DVD. The biggest complaint which I have is that there is no Blu-ray or 4K Blu-ray, at least in my region, and there's no sequel. Next one is a werewolf classic, John Landis, An American Werewolf in London. With amazing effects, good acting, a moody setting and a great mix of comedy, horror and drama.
Take your life, David. Kill yourself before you kill others.
It gets dark at times, but it also has one of my favorite jokes in the movie.
Not you, you twitter! I've never seen you before in my life. Oh, sorry. Good movie.
That alone should make you want to watch or rewatch this movie. But the journey of two students who are getting attacked by a werewolf and suffer from the consequences is a classic for a reason. American Werewolf can be quite bloody, but if you want some real splatter, which is also fairly new, you can have a look at The Sadness, for which I also made a longer review on this channel, which you can check out. It's not quite an extreme movie, but it's definitely more violent and bloody than most mainstream movies, and I had surprisingly much, I guess you can call it, fun with it. I don't know what's wrong with me either, but it's a good zombie/infected movie. Here a virus is turning people into demented psychos who attack everyone and everything, and have a joy causing or receiving pain. It's basically like the comic Crossed. Give it a watch. Another bloody but more suspenseful and psychological movie, also with monsters, is The Descent by Neil Marshall. A couple of women are getting into a cave when they are suddenly trapped inside. As if this isn't bad enough, they encounter some monsters in the cave who are looking for fresh meat. Claustrophobia, trauma, and a surprising amount of violence can be seen in this well-made horror thriller from Great Britain. In my opinion, it's Neil Marshall's best. Next up is the horror cult classic comedy Night of the Creeps, a love letter to horror movies up to that point, which is just amazing. Ex-murderers, aliens, giant leeches and of course zombies. This movie has everything and then some. It looks great on Blu-ray too and has both versions of the film on the disc. It's really funny and unique, even though it mixes something from seemingly every horror movie which was ever created. A lot of the characters also have the names of famous horror directors. I love it. Another 80s classic and a quite brutal and surprising one is the remake of The Blob. The 80s had some brilliant remakes, which took the originals from the 50s and gave them a much darker and much more violent treatment. They also changed up the stories quite a bit usually. The Blob is no different. It has great effects, it is brutal, showing how people are getting dissolved by the Blob and don't even shying away from killing main characters and kids. The story is basically the same. The blob appears and starts to grow and eat everything it finds, terrorizing the town. But the tone is so very different from the original, and not as campy as the original. It just feels so different compared to it. And even the characters, normal humans, than the one-dimensional figures in the first one. This was also co-written by Frank Darabont and has some great actors in early roles. Bill Moseley, Jeffrey DeMunn and Shawnee Smith. Now something different. In my opinion, excellent psychological thriller drama. Possum, which deals with trauma, fear and repressed memory. A puppeteer returns to his hometown and is confronted with his darkest fears, being followed and seeing one of his puppets, which torments him and looks just outright scary and disturbing. It gets much deeper and deals with childhood trauma and abuse, so it's most likely not for everyone. But for me it's one of a few movies which made me really tense, so be aware. Same can be said for the next one, but for very different reasons. Cannibal Holocaust is my pick for people who want to see something really extreme and disturbing, but be warned. While the effects are already pretty gruesome at times, it gets even worse as the animals you see die in the movie were actually killed. And some of these kills are shown in gruesome detail. There are also some more controversies. How the actors were treated, how especially the indigenous people were treated, and that the whole production was quite exploitative to everyone involved. Which is ironic as the movie has some social commentary and critiquing violence in the media. Also the director was in trouble as he made the public believe the actors actually died and the film was real. You see, big portions of the film are actually found footage, as the plot revolves around a documentary crew looking for cannibals in the rainforests, and then attacking them to stage various situations to make the documentary more exciting. After all those gruesome pics, let's get something much more tolerable and fun. Little Shop of Horrors is a masterpiece in my opinion. The effects are unreal, the acting fits perfectly. I love Rick Moranis in general, but Steve Martin is the true star of the flick. It also looks brilliant on Blu-ray and has also both the theatrical cut and the director's cut on the disc, together with some bonus features. The musical comedy is also something you could watch with your kids and just have fun with it. Rick Moranis finding an alien plant which thinks and sings is most of all very hungry, while he himself is hopelessly in love with Audrey, who is in a bad relationship. It's just a classic. I also want to highlight a ghost story. For that I choose Houseu, a Japanese surrealist horror comedy. Based on the nightmares of the director's daughter, this is a wild ride. A couple of schoolgirls is visiting the main girl's aunt in the country house. Once their spooky situations occur, like a piano coming to life and being very hungry, the painting of a cat coming to life, and melons turning into decapitated heads which fly around and bite people. It looks great, is very imaginative and is a lot of fun, and it also fits very good to Halloween. That was a lot, but I could give probably more than a dozen more recommendations when it's about horror and Halloween. So I will give you one more recommendation. It's an old flick, a really old flick, so you can turn off when you are not interested. Groundbreaking and Nicolas Cage favorite movie, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. The silent movie is a masterpiece, and despite its age, it's still very much watchable in my opinion. With 77 minutes, it's also quite short. The story is about a man in an asylum telling the actual story about Francis, who is meeting Dr. Caligari, who has Caesar, which he controls and lets him tell people the future. Soon murders occur, and Francis' girlfriend is being abducted. I don't want to spoil more and would recommend not to look anything up about it. On the back of my Blu-ray they actually explain the twist, which ruins the movie, which was very unfortunate. So if you want something old and creepy, then you can look at this expressionist masterpiece. It's probably also on YouTube. So these are my picks. I hope there was something of interest for you, and I wish you all a spooky Halloween.